Next meeting before 9:04 a.m. Thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry, I was a little bit late. So first on the docket is completion and acceptance of agenda. So could I get a motion to approve the agenda and if there are any edits? Moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Lehman. Wonderful, all in favor? And that's approved. All right, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? No. All right, seeing none. And then approval of minutes, so any adjustments or edits to the minutes? Seeing none, then a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Lehman. All in favor of approving the minutes? That carries, wonderful. And Commissioner Rahman, we just approved the minutes. We have no presentations or delegations. And then moving on to communication. So this is a letter from myself and Commissioner Rahman regarding communication and engagement. I'm happy to explain the rationale of that for folks if they want, and then perhaps Commissioner Rahman could interject if there's anything that I'm missing. But this is something that we have had come up from various residents who have expressed a desire for different communication channels. So for example, presence on different social media platforms, as well as broader community engagement. So for example, having presence of LTC at events or at outreach booths. And my understanding is that we do not have staffing complement available for some of those things. And understanding that we are trying to, of course, spend money efficiently. That is, in my opinion, one of the areas I think that we could see some improvement if there was resources available. So we want to bring this to your attention for discussion and consideration given the budget discussions over the next couple of years. Anything else? Maybe I'll have Commissioner Rahman if you have anything to add to that. Nope, great. Okay, so I saw Commissioner Trasso.
Yes, thank you for bringing this up. I think it's very badly needed. I continue to hear a lot of, I don't want to say complaints, because it's sort of we're on a are we still in our honeymoon period as a new
It's always a honeymoon.
as a new commission? Well, I don't think it's gonna last too long. Anyway, in seriousness, I understand the constraints in terms of staff, but when I've been in the community and I've seen your tabling efforts there, and I know you can't bring cake every time, although that would be nice. It's very much appreciated. It's very much appreciated by people. What I'd like to suggest is if we can't get out to the community as much as we'd like, let's make it easier for the community to come to us. And I think we have a new set of procedural rules that we're working out. And I would like to, and I'm not going to put forward a motion today, but I would like to consider at a subsequent meeting, maybe relaxing the time deadline for requests for delegation. That doesn't require agenda preparation, but I'd like to make it a little easier for people to be able to come in and request a delegation. And when the deadlines are such that you never really get to see the agenda and then make a request for delegation. Delegation requests, it's not going to cost us anything other than 5 minutes. So I'd like to formulate a motion for the August meeting.
Sure.
And I just was wondering informally what the people think about that, just to make it easier for people to come in and have their time with us.
I think my recommendation would maybe be formulate a motion and have it on the agenda so we can discuss it. Because just this one does not specifically address that, but yeah, I have no problem with that as a discussion process. Any other comments on the letter or the motion?
No, I think you did a good job with the letter.
Great. Commissioner Lehman?
Yeah, through to staff, how do we currently engage with the community?
Through the chair, depending on the issue. So generally, we have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook account, we've got the LTC website. We use onboard posters on the buses to update any significant changes, service changes, that kind of thing. When we're doing our business planning process, service planning process, those kind of things, we utilize online surveys, we do drop-in sessions, depending on the nature of the service changes. So for example, if we're considering going into a new community, we would do drop-in sessions in that community so that we can hear directly from the people who would be affected by those type of things. So it really is kind of modeled to the nature of the communication that we're providing. With respect to community events, the chair is correct. We don't have a staffing complement to be sending staff to community events on weekends, that type of thing. We do attend as we can if we're requested, and that's, you know, we'll pull from a, you know, perhaps an operator trainer, one of the customer service staff will volunteer to work on a weekend, that kind of thing. So that's how we've managed it historically.
Thanks. So I guess my comment is this, we're kind of doing a lot of that stuff already. I'm just looking at the first enhanced social media. The only thing is I didn't hear we're on Instagram or Reddit.
We're not.
So would that be, if you're on Facebook, doesn't that automatically go to Instagram? Would that be a big cost?
Through the chair, it's not so much the cost, it's the staff time. Having posts on Instagram are a lot. You need images to go with all of those posts in order for it to be an Instagram post that somebody's going to interact with, which means, again, more staff time. And just a reminder, our communication staff is essentially Carolyn, who's communications manager, but also does a bunch of other things. And then we have one other staff member that's in communications. So we have assessed looking at Instagram in the past, and it is a significant lift in terms of creating that content and having that available to post. Our Facebook posts are generally a copy of what we're sharing on Twitter or the posters that are going on board. So our concern is if we don't have the staffing, it's going to get stale very quickly, and then you don't have the interaction that you're looking for. So that will all be part and parcel of what we would bring back in a report back with respect to this. Those are the concerns that we've kind of, you know, struggled with in the past, and that's why we've not gone forward with Instagram.
So my last comment is regarding advisory groups. If those are being considered, they would have to have, in my opinion, a very clear direction of what their purpose is and how they're going to interact with the commission. That's those are my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, I'm gonna have that.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Commissioner Flores, I didn't see you. You're next.
That's okay. I just creep in behind you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I'm not sure if there's any opportunity for LTC staff to also reach out to the city communications team. Realizing we have some new staff members too. Maybe they discovered some best practices. They're also trying to mobilize their social media and other groups and outreach a little bit farther. My question through you, Madam Chair, to staff is looking to see what our current engagement and opportunities is that we do with Tourism London and RBC Place, realizing there's a bunch of conventions that come into town. Have we explored any opportunities for engagement with all those attendees coming to town to help get them onto public transit?
Through the chair, we have an agreement with Tourism London. Essentially, every convention that's in town, we get a request for convention passes for all of the attendees. So that is something that's already in progress, and we have a process for that. So virtually every conference that comes here, we provide convention passes.
Sorry, Madam Chair, that we provide them or we offer to provide them?
Well, they reach out to us every time there's a convention, and it's just a process of us signing off, getting the details of when it is, because we have to notify our operators what that pass will look like during the period of the convention.
Okay, thank you. Do we track the usage of those passes too? Like they're issued, and I think that's great to actually see if they use them or that there was an impact.
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Trotha?
Thank you. The same issue. Do we absorb that cost, or does Tourism London pay us something?
Through the chair, there is no fee, and essentially we're not absorbing a cost because the transit system's running. We're down revenue. We don't collect any revenue for this project. They're provided free of charge through a partnership with Tourism London.
You used the term convention. So my worry would be that we're capturing the very, very large known conventions that are at RBC Place and using local hotels, but we might be missing a lot of other events that come to town, particularly in the summer in the university area where they actually operate some of their residence halls as hotels. Much of it has to do with sports or academic conferences. I want to make sure that we're capturing that too. And I don't think Tourism London is paying any attention to academic conferences that are coming to the campus or minor sport things.
So Commissioner Chazo, are you suggesting, it sounds like staff don't offer free passes to the events that aren't at RBC place?
Yes, we do. If we're contacted, we do, and we have done a number in partnership with the university. That's not to say there aren't others that we missed, but we have done those. So if we're contacted,
Okay.
we certainly make them available.
So the operative words are if we're contacted. And my suggestion is we need to be a little bit more proactive. And if the feeling is that there's no additional cost to us, but as the buses are running anyway, I think we should be more aggressive about trying to get people to come to London to use the bus. I know that the taxi companies might not like this and the Ubers might not like this, but I think it's something we should do. Many of the people that come especially over the summer are people who may come here in some other capacity later on, and I want to get them on the bus when they're here. Going from the university to downtown is just very well served. I don't think that needs a motion if staff is hearing what I'm saying. Yeah. I also wouldn't mind getting a little bit of a I don't want this to be a deal breaker, but I mean, at least for the large conferences where there are contributions to the tax that the Tourism London is getting part of, I would like to consider having them make somewhat of a contribution. But that again is something that you would have to negotiate. So thank you.
Yeah, perhaps a future discussion. I've made a note of it. Okay, any other comments or questions on the letter submitted? No. The motion kind of is in the last paragraph. The only item is that in discussion after the September deadline might be a little bit too quick. So I don't know if we want to include a deadline in that motion, but push it out a little bit further given the work that's going on in the summer for the budget. November. November.
I'm okay with November. I just would like an idea of when quick start actions could begin. I think there's some low hanging fruit when it comes to communication engagement, and we can start that hoping soon.
Sure, stuff.
Through the chair, I'm just not sure what you mean by quick start actions, like from this menu of options. I mean,
Yeah.
Like, if you could give me an example of which ones in here you think would be a quick start?
For sure.
Absolutely. So I think the engagement with APSAC, for instance, to get an idea of perhaps some of the communications that they'd like to see and the enhancements that they might recommend. I know that there's been some conversation around with the rollout of our online booking service, what kind of additional communications and supports could be used to better communicate how to access the service and how to even sign up would be one. Enhanced social media, that could be some additional posts and things that perhaps can be done in the interim period as we consider perhaps the addition to Instagram and Reddit, but just some highlights, some additional posts, maybe some more information about traction in terms of those posts. What are people picking up on? And lastly, I think there's just perhaps some engagement that can be done in the short term. There's a number of activities in the community, or is there something we can do to enhance efforts just to hit in that respect, or to look at what can be done in that short period of time to be.
I mean, we can bring something back. We can make every effort to bring something back in September that talks about all of this, but as I said, when we chatted, we've got budget, we've also got the fall service plan going in, so we've got a lot going on in the fall, but I mean, in terms of discussion with the Accessibility Advisory Committee, that happens regularly because we've got those meetings planned, so certainly that's an easy one, that can be on the August agenda, so that can be a certainly something that we can do right away. Again, additional posts, yes, we can look at that. We do have a calendar and we do post regularly, but we can look at, at enhancing that. Again, within the complement that we've got right now. So we can certainly look at doing some of those things and we can make an effort to bring it back in September. I'm just cautioning that could be tight with everything else that we've got going on.
Rachel?
I'm fine with November, but like I said, as long as there's some action steps that can be taken.
Yeah, okay, so I'm additionally fine with November, because I feel like having a more comprehensive one would be better than trying to do it quickly by September. Although November is probably still pretty quick, but that'll give us a good insight into direction on what kind of staffing complement we need to be able to provide that more enhanced social media presence as well as community engagement presence. So if those two items are the more posts on Facebook and the August session, we include this item on the agenda, I think then that would address start items. So with that all being said, just reviewing the motion, kind of thinking that out. So request that LTC staff be directed to report back on a comprehensive plan with recommended purchase outline. The plan should include quick start actions that can be implemented in short term and long to medium term strategies, as well as any financial implications and potential timelines with the November deadline. So that's the motion, and I'm happy to move it. And can I get a second here? Commissioner Rahman, any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, then all in favor? And any opposed? So that carries. Thank you very much, and thank you, Steph. I know this is additional work, but I appreciate it because it's something that's come up before and want to address it. Okay, so that deals with communication. Moving on to consent items, the first being the primary service provider for specialized service request for proposal. So this is a short report. Thank you to staff for putting this together. This is kind of the main reason we wanted to have a July meeting. And so I just wanted to remind folks to keep items to this specific RFP proposal, as well as not to get too specific. If there's details that might require going in camera, we want to make sure that we're talking more in generalities and with specific metrics that we want to look at, but just keeping that in mind. So the report is to be received for information and general discussion to be had. I see Commissioner Choctaw has his hand up, so do you want to?
Yes, thank you. I was going to pull this, but it's the main point for talking today. So I have a couple of concerns about this. One of which the report be received for information. I'd like to amend that to say a few more things. It says in here that it is going to APT, the advisory committee. I would like to reflect that in the motion that the issue be referred to the August meeting. Number two, I don't see in the packet the actual text of the current RFP. I think it would be helpful for us and for the advisory committee to see that. So I'd like to specify in this motion that the current request for proposal, and by the way, if it's already embedded in a board agenda, simply providing the link and the date would be fine. But I want to have that in front of me before I go into that next meeting. So I'd like that reflected in the motion. And number three, this one may be a little more controversial. I don't see a lot in here about the technology and the sign up system. And I think one thing that Boyle does is they operate fleet. The other thing that happens is we have this other new technology driven system for people signing up. It just seems to me that it just this is saying, without pulling out those two elements, it seems to be saying that you would just, that one company would just submit one RFP, which necessarily would cover both. And I don't see any reason why we couldn't say in the RFP that, requests for proposals will be accepted on, and I'm not sure how to write this in in proper RFP, language. Requests for proposals will be accepted on this aspect, or all aspects. So in other words, if somebody is a technology company and they want to bid on the, reservation system, and they're not a company that runs a fleet, they should be able to, do that. And I'm just, before I go any further with that, could I just get some, other sense from my colleagues and from staff, whether that is something we could do?
My understanding is the booking system is with LTC, but I'll go to staff meetings.
Okay, that helps.
Through the chair. So yes, LTC owns the booking software. LTC staff are responsible for booking the trips, basically dispatching the trips and managing the customers, customer contact, all of that. So the RFP is essentially for vehicles and drivers.
Okay,
The equipment that's on those vehicles is owned by LTC. Part of what's included in that RFP is if there's a switch in providers, they have to build in the appropriate time to be able to install our equipment on their vehicles.
okay.
So so there isn't a software aspect. We're providing that. We already own that and we're providing that.
Well, that's helpful, and that takes care of that issue. Although I'm wondering if the final text of the RFP could just reset that, just so it's a little clearer to everybody that reads the RFP, that it's not there. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the, discussion at the advisory committee, but I do think having the text of the current, RFP and, would be very helpful.
Question to staff then being, my understanding, would be a contract would probably be confidential.
No.
Or would that be public?
Not at all.
No, the RFP would be public.
The RFP, you're the previous contract with the,
It's public.
both, right? Yeah, okay. So both the RFP and the contract will be provided.
And maybe, would that just be added to our next agenda or to the advisory committee agenda?
Through the chair, so, we don't typically provide the entire contents of an RFP for discussion. It's more about what elements we want
Yeah,
to discuss, which is what we were trying to cover here. We can certainly make the entire RFP available. Like I said, it is public, but it's a lot more detail than generally the advisory committee would want to get involved in.
well, let's not prejudge how much detail the advisory committee wants to get involved in, or members of the public. And I for myself would like to see the full RFP, as soon as possible. And again, maybe it's already available in one of our, at council, we get dozens of pages of contracts appended to, pretty much everything we do. So could I get that right away?
And sorry, do you want the previous RFP and contract or the one that staff are still working?
No, I want the one that's in effect right now.
on? Is that possible?
Yes, I think, I believe you actually requested that when you first came on the commission, and I think we've already provided it to you specifically, but I can make it available to
You
everyone.
provided to me the contract.
Right, but the
not
contract is the
RFP.
RFP. The way we do contracts here is we issue an RFP and then there's a bid. And the contract is a 2-page cover page that says the contract is made up of the RFP and your response. So the RFP isn't included in that package, but we can certainly make it available.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'm not wasting time here. I want people to understand my intention. I don't want to be told later on that, no, we can't deal with that because it wasn't included in the RFP. And therefore, we would have to go back and redo the RFP in order to include that point, whatever it may be. So, if my understanding based on what you're telling me is that the contract itself can be used as a template for what will be in the RFP, then I think maybe we should put that contract into the agenda package for the advisory committee.
It's the same document through the chair, so yes, we can make it go.
Yeah. And I just don't want to assume that the advisory committee would not have a taste for looking at that level of detail, because I think some of the people would.
Wonderful. Okay, and then would that be able to be on the August agenda? Okay, that looks good. Is there anything, Commissioner Trassa, that you want to bring at this time to discuss about this one, or
Well,
would you prefer to wait until?
Do I need to amend this recommendation to include what we just said?
I feel like staff are going to bring it to the August one slide.
So there's no need for me to amend this because staff is represented that these things will happen.
Right.
Okay, I can do it. I can accept that. Other than that, I do not have any further comments or feedback on the elements of this RFP. And I hope to be able to provide more fulsome feedback after the August meeting.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Robin, is there your?
Thank you. So two things. I'm happy to move, the consent items to get them on the floor.
All of them?
Yep.
Great. Seconder for that, Commissioner Hopkins.
Okay, thanks. And then on item one, I just wanted to dig in a little bit on the penalties portion of the payment for service delivery. So under penalties, it just says will be applied in the event of a shortage of available vehicles or drivers, and when we can add a service level standard.
What?
So particularly we hear from people that are, waiting for a significant period of time because their drivers can't find them, or there's some sort of issue arises. I don't know that the penalty reflects service as much as it needs to, and I'm wondering how we do that better.
Through the chair, we can look at that. Again, I think those things that you're hearing are more one-offs than a problem that you would try to incorporate in a contract. But we also have to be careful because it's London Transit staff that are reporting the address, and it's London Transit staff that are sending that directive to the provider. So in a lot of cases, that's not necessarily the drive. Like if something incorrect gets sent, then that's not something we can hold the contractor liable for, because we're the ones that sent them that information. We can look at enhancing that. As I said in the report, we are doing a scan of contracts across the province to just see if there's other elements that we could include that would enhance our contract. So we can look more specifically at that. I don't recall, Sean, seeing anything in the ones that we've looked at that have something that specific.
Not the ones that, through the chair, I apologize, not the ones where the dispatch is housed internally,
Right.
and separate from the provider. It's important to know that our standard for pickup performance with respect to on time is within half an hour of the scheduled booking time. We ran at 99.6 for the month of June within inside of that half an hour. So to further Kelly's point with respect to, one-offs, it's more uncommon than common. But with the piece that we do penalize with the performance piece, sort of to your point, if a bus is late and we can clearly identify that the bus wasn't working, then we will penalize. So somebody takes a break for half an hour and then the service is impacted, then absolutely we would do it in that case. But if it runs late because of manifest or traffic, or went the wrong way because we said back door and it was front door, something like that, we wouldn't penalize in that case.
Similarly, I think whenever you have a penalty, you also have to have some sort of an incentive. So I would love to see at some point us get to a point where we can say we want to incentivize good service as well. So not just what's in your contract, but also, hey, you know what, on our annual survey, people are saying, users are saying, drivers are saying that the service was impeccable. And so therefore we'd like to also incentivize that. So I think there's a bit of a carrot and a stick that can be used as well. And I'm just wondering if perhaps we can work to get there at some point where a contract reflects that.
Any comments?
We can look at that.
The staff will take the feedback on incentives. Any follow-ups?
No, I have other things on other items, but I can come back to those.
Great. Any other questions or comments for the RFP item? What? Okay, seeing none, then moving to other consent items. Commissioner Ron, you want to jump to your stuff?
Sure. It was on specialized transit and specific to the information around the online service. Trying to find the page here, sorry. So I wanted to drill down on a target, I guess. So in reading the report, I see that we've got, about 10% right now of those that have signed up are using the app, which I think is great to see that we're getting that uptake, and kudos to staff for the work that they're doing to get folks signed up and teaching them how to use the app and making sure that it's available to them. I know we've been addressing some bugs, we've been addressing some concerns within the application. That's really important to do, especially in the early stage, and figure out how to provide the best app. And as we continue to work through that, I see that we've got this, the standard is 10% to 20% will use the app across services that we've compared to. But I'm wondering what our target is, because it's great that we have an idea what other services are doing, but I think it also ties into our communications and engagement strategy. Is our target 15%? Is our target 20% to be at the top end? But setting some sort of target, and I think that's another conversation with AppSec and asking them as well what they think the community may be willing to participate at what level. And so I think that just is something we can consider for the future, so that we are also looking at that from a strategic planning perspective and trying to build engagement there.
Any staff comments on having a target?
Through the chair, the difficulty with a target for something like that is it's entirely up to the rider base, what their preference is. And I mean, that to me is the best customer service, is letting people use the what they want to use. So from our perspective, our target has always been that everybody that wants to be online is online, and we're going to make that happen for them. While recognizing that, we've heard from a significant number of registrants that want nothing to do with online, and they're quite comfortable using the phone. So it's even difficult to compare industry-wide, because the registrant base of the clientele that we have here in London may be very different than some of those systems that we're comparing to. Obviously, the elder population within that registered base, we always know they're more hesitant to move towards technology. But if you've got a registrant base that's more heavily populated with that demographic, that can have an impact. So we've never really tried to come up with a target. We were more just providing that is that this is what we're seeing in the industry in terms of that specific online piece. But again, we can try to come up with a number, but we don't really have a sense on the makeup of our ridership and who we think we should be targeting. Should we be going after, XYZ customers and saying, hey, you need to get on this if that's not their preference. So we've never really looked at a target for that.
Okay. For sure.
Through you, Chair, I just want to ask a question regarding our total passengers number. With the foreign students decline, which is indicated in the report, we're looking at a drop of about 7.4% for the ridership. Good job, by the way, and for seeing that in the budget. I see the budget is pretty close to what you expect. I just want to know, going through to the end of the year, we're kind of halfway through that change due to the immigration and racial changes. Do you foresee that number 7.4 kind of staying steady at that decreased ridership level, or is that going to change in the fall when we're up against fall numbers? from last year.
Yeah, through the chair, that's what we're working on right now in the conversations with Western and Fanshawe. I think you're going to see it continue, whether it's gonna be more it's kind of hard to say at this point. The reconciliation period for that, the tuition year goes from September through to August. And it's usually late August when we're getting the actual reconciliation from the registrar of the university as far as what their actual number of students were, which ties into that billing. So, it is kind of difficult to say, but I mean, like I said, we put that into the budget for this year, and that's what we're trying to get a good sense of where they're gonna be for September, so.
Your chair, so are you saying kind of in August, we'll have a better idea what we can expect in the fall?
Yeah, for the budget that we're gonna put forward in August, we will have our best kind of information from the university and the college on that, and that will be reflected in a forecast for the rest of the year, because the 2025 forecast includes what happens in
Right.
September, so that will be rolled into there, and then that flows through into the 2026 budget. So that's what we're still kind of working on, right? So I don't have a specific answer for that.
Thanks.
We go to Commissioner Hopkins and Trustin.
Yeah, thank you, and through the chair, first of all, thanks for the update, I really do appreciate it. I think that a few of the commissioners have already touched upon some of my questions. The remaining question I have is around the insurance. Usually, you see a lot of increases in insurance, and I wonder if it can be explained a little bit more. Where we're at right now and
Yes.
with what to expect going forward.
Okay. So specifically, as far as where we are right now, when you first asked the question, I was thinking of our policy renewal, which we discussed last month, but the variance that you're seeing right now is all about the claims piece. So we manage claims up to $100,000, and we actually fund those claims through a public liability reserve. So it's kind of an in and out from a financial perspective. We had been kind of anticipating higher claims because I think it was 2000, we went from a $50,000 deductible per claim to $100,000. So you believe that your exposure is greater. You tie that into COVID, where the ridership fell and there wasn't as many claims from that perspective. So it probably, I think, is a testament to operations and how things are running in terms of the public liability claims going down, and that's what we're seeing. So I think our budget did have a higher amount, and we'll probably be looking at that in the next one. From a financial perspective, we reduce that claim, we reduce how much we pull in from the reserve, which is position, but it really is about claims experience and not as much. I mean, one claim could pay out $100,000 and boom, you're right there. So, but we have seen so far, and it is real time. I mean, our adjusters do provide a reserve and an estimate of what they think it's going to be, but what we're reflecting right now is what's happened. So it's been positive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Trustin.
Yes, back to the usage of our riders with respect to the system. I always get a little uncomfortable when I hear people making generalizations about how seniors don't like to use technology, because there's lots of literature that contradicts that. And in fact, the seniors may be one of the fastest growing users of information technology for a variety of reasons. So I'd caution you to be careful with that. However, having said that, I don't think we can tell people that they should be using the system, but I think we can ask them, why aren't you using the system? Is there something about the usability, and usability is a whole area of study in terms of designing systems. Is there something about the usability that makes you a little uncomfortable? And what can we do to make this system a little better from a usability, user friendliness point of view to bring more people in? I'd really like to see that. I'd like to see that number driven up, because I think it's more efficient. And from I do a lot of work with different senior groups. I go around and talk to senior groups. I have Cherry Hill. I mean, I think that there is a very large take-up among seniors of this technology, and for no other reason than get pictures of their grandchildren, but seniors are using these systems. So, is there something, and I'm not putting anything on the table now, but is there something we could do to try to probe why that number stays low?
Through the chair, so we do an annual voice of the customer survey where we can specifically ask, and there's a separate survey for the specialized customers and there is for conventional, so we can include that, like we can include questions around that in that survey that happens in the fall each year. To get an indication, are you using the system, and if not, why? Like we can build that in, and then we would have that feedback as part of that survey.
Wonderful. Second. And then, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Morgan?
Yeah, just, first off, thank you for the answer so far to the other commissioners. That actually knocked off a few of the questions I had. I had a question about the ongoing fuel savings due to the lower diesel prices. So it seems to be tracking pretty well in the first, like really well in the first 5 months. Obviously, these things are relatively unpredictable in the long term, but it seems relatively stable. So are we going to handle that in the upcoming budget? Are you going to leave a big cushion? Are you going to tighten the budget a little bit? I'm just wondering how you're going to approach that. Given fuel costs, probably have to leave a little bit of a buffer, but the budget is way over what fuel is costing.
Yeah, through the chair, we did provide an estimate of what we thought in our potential savings from last meeting. And I think it was 1.8 million, which really is reflecting a price of about, I think, $1.23 a liter. At the beginning of the year, it was 1.35, January, February, with the reduction of the or the elimination of the carbon tax, and a bunch of other things going on. You've got some political, uncertainty in different areas, which you would expect it to increase. It went down to about $1. So that's what we're seeing. But from the beginning of July, it went from $1.01 to $1.10, which is a pretty significant, difference, in terms of that's $700,000-800,000 on 7 million liters of fuel. And in the past, that would have been very, very scary for us. And it's just, something that happened last month. So stability isn't quite there. So, however, I think it was forecasted to go in April, the carbon tax was moving from 17 cents to 23 cents, and we had reflected that increase, and now it's zero. But I had heard there was some talk of a different kind of plan, so that could change as well. But obviously, we only know what we know, with fuel, we typically go with where we are and provide a nominal kind of a percentage increase. With that stability or with that instability, I think we might probably provide a little bit of a cushion, but I think where we're sitting right now, we're still comfortable with that level that we had, and it'd be interesting to see what happens up till, the end of July of where we're at. So the other piece just to add is that, with that, we do have our fuel reserve, which can give us a little bit of a cushion from that perspective. So which enables us to be a little more aggressive, i.e. the 1.8 million that we've offered up in terms of for 26, knowing that if it does go back up, we can offset that there.
Great, thanks. My second question is actually off of professional quitting agreement talked about the decline in Fanshawe students that you know has happened and factoring into your estimates. 2 questions. One is there anything built into the contracts that is related to like the number you purchase? Like if you usually purchase 30,000, passes, now you're purchasing 20,000. Like, is there flexibility for the price of change, or is it locked in the term of the contract? And then I have a follow-up.
Through the chair, it is locked in, and it's essentially the way our contracts are written is it's every full-time student has to buy a pass. So there's no opting out, there's no options, and that's why Mike said it's that back and forth auditing process with the registrar, because that's who we're getting those actual numbers from. But it's the same price regardless, and every full-time student needs to purchase a pass.
Yeah, and my understanding is that there are other universities who do this as well. It's a kind of a common thing in cities like London where there are, large educational institutions and transit systems that they partner with student unions or whoever to set this up. So I guess my second question is there any advocacy being done, say through transit commissions for those to say there's been a decision that the federal government has made. This has obviously impacted our revenues and we'd like some support to transition on that in the future, right? So like any sort of advocacy, if not, like I'd certainly be happy to help with that. I think it's a reasonable ask, given this is a decision that a level of government has made that can, in some cases, have a significant impact on a necessary revenue stream that transit commissions are dependent on. And there may be a conversation that could be had to say, for the next couple of years, we need a little bit of support to transition that into the next contract that you set for with the students at a rate that maybe reflects the number being bought, but with some support. So I guess first is that something we've contemplated or you've talked about with your colleagues? And second, if it isn't, is it something that you think is something we could pursue? And you need any direction on that, or is that just something we can work on?
Through the chair, so actually Opta is in the process right now of creating our messaging for our advocacy day later in this year. And we're doing a survey right now of all members, just saying, what are the big factors that are impacting their budgets? Obviously, this is one for all of those cities that have got these kind of deals. We've never, at this point, we've never talked specifically just about that program. Generally, when Opta goes forward, it's more about we need operating dollars for all of these reasons. And, the province just needs to help with that. We've never gotten specific, but that's not to say that we can't on this one specific item. It's very easy to prove. I mean, everybody's seeing that decline in enrollment, which equates to a decline in ridership and revenue that goes with it. So it would be an easy one to prove, and it's something we could certainly work on, and I can certainly raise it with the Opta group.
So through the chair, so I'd like to do that. If you don't need direction, happy to just support you. And with my other hat on, not as a commissioner, I would be happy to support through the avenues that I have. I can certainly get together with the mayors of the other large cities that are impacted, so we can find out who is and who'd be interested. It might not be the full suite of transit users, but the ones who have these programs, and maybe we can make a consorted or a combined ask that I'd be happy to have.
Great. Commissioner Lyman and then Tressa.
Thanks. When is our contract up with the Fanshawe Western?
Through the chair, we renewed.
Just renewed. I think
it was a 3-year, right?
Yes.
It was a 3-year, so I think it's through August 2028. Let me confirm
Yeah,
that
we can
for you.
follow up with.
I think that's what it is, but would like to confirm that for you.
Okay, and this, when I was going with Commissioner Morgan talking there, through you, Chair, how many liters of fuel do we use in it annually?
Seven and a half million.
7.5 million. And referred to the carbon tax. That was 17 cents, and it was going to go up to 23 cents. It's now to 0. Was there a carbon tax rebate that we got that would wash that, or that was a direct cost to the
That was included in our budgets, and that's why we're seeing some of the variances. We included those escalations. Again, through the chair, that was something certainly the transit industry was advocating for, that transit is a green option and they should be getting credits for that, but we never made any headway with respect to that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Tressa.
Yes, and this is very much related to the letter that we talked about at the beginning of the session in terms of communications, but it also goes to the students. The part-time students they don't have to get passed. The way I understand the way it's laid out, full-time students, no opt-out, part-time students, they can get it if they want.
No.
Is that?
Part-time students can't participate.
They can't participate, but they could purchase the monthly pass on their own. And is there any discount for current part-time students, purchasing a monthly pass?
Through the chair, no.
Okay, putting that aside, I'm wondering, is there something we could do as part of our communication strategy to target the many part-time students, mostly at Fanshawe? I think at Western, you're more likely going to be a full-time student. Is there something we could do to target part-time students at Fanshawe to persuade them that it would be cost effective for them to purchase a monthly pass? Because they're concentrated in this one area, so if we were gonna do outreach, it would be simple enough. And by the way, I raised this having spoken to the students at Fanshawe who feel that if there were, this is related to New Roots, but there are a number of, there's a feeling that if we made it a little easier to get from the very various places people live, the King's students are not necessarily concentrated in that King's neighborhood, and the Fanshawe students are not necessarily especially the part-timers, are not necessarily concentrated in the Fanshawe neighborhood. So again, I'm not putting something on the table, but I'm just wondering if we could maybe increase our outreach in terms of communications here.
Sure, and I mean, we do provide materials every year to Fanshawe that go to all the students, full-time and part-time. They get a route, like a ride guide and whatever other information we want to share with them. So we can certainly look at including something that would promote that for the part-time group.
I know that King's has done an actual survey of their students in terms of where they're coming from. And it's a lot easier for King's to do that because their population is much smaller than Fanshawe's. But people are coming from a variety of different locations in the city. Westmont seems to be coming up a lot when I talk to students in terms of where they live. So anyway.
Thank you. Commissioner Hopkins?
Yeah, just as a follow-up to Commissioner Morgan's comments about the advocacy, and I know the contacts the Commissioner has, I just really want to encourage that. I think it's really important having that conversation out there, letting other governments know the dependency of these fees to the Commission. And I'm just reflecting back a number of years ago, there was even a conversation of removing these fees too at a time where I think it would have affected transit commissions, and having these conversations and is really important. I just want to underline that. Yeah. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the consent items? I do have one question, kind of following on Commissioner Rodman's questions about targets or metrics. In regards to the folks that are still spending time on the phone who've not transitioned over to the online booking, do we have metrics regarding how long we hope or don't hope people will spend on the phone, and do we kind of look at those and figure out ways to address them? Go ahead, Justin.
Through the chair, so not entirely sure how you're asking that. Are you asking duration of calls, how many calls, how long the queue is full, like those sorts of things?
Yeah.
On a normal day that we were booking for a weekday, we would have a crush of calls that would come in, and they would fill the queue line where people would have to wait, sometimes a fairly significant amount of time, for about 45 minutes. That was pretty standard. That number's down to 25 minutes with the portal. Now, the portal didn't just reduce how many calls were coming in to request for booking rides, but it also offers the opportunity for people to manage their trips online. So cancellation calls have gone way down, and they would happen in the mornings as well. So that's one piece of it. The time on the call itself is very similar between the two systems. So in the previous platform that we were booking calls in, calls were averaging under 90 seconds, and they're still averaging under 90 seconds. So that piece hasn't really changed. The time to process a portal call is a little bit less. It's just over a minute. So it's a little bit faster for the internal person to process that call. So we've seen a nice reduction in the call wait time and the queue time in the mornings. But the duration of the call hasn't changed.
And the duration, I feel like if it's only a minute and a half, it's not the problem.
It can be a lot when you think that we're getting 1,500 bookings a day, right? Now, and then a handful of cancellations a day, resulting in 1,100-ish to 1,200-ish serviced rides. But those calls are coming in generally 7 o'clock, starting at 7 o'clock or 8, depending if it's a weekend day, 3 days prior. So it's kind of happening all at once. So it's quite a few calls.
So then, follow up, the more people that are using the online booking system, ideally, the call time volume or duration, right, the wait of people going from 45 minutes to 25, ideally would then still continue to shrink because they're not calling in.
It would, and we spoke to targets earlier, not having specific targets, and some of our peer properties, specifically last year at the CUDA conference, I sat through a lot of sessions specific with this. That 10 is a high number, and lots of hope to get to 20 even, and that's with it being in place for a couple of years. We were ecstatic thinking if we could get to 10 in the first year, kind of which is school in 6 months, right? But yes, you would see that number come down.
And is that the main mechanism to see the number come down? Because it doesn't make sense to hire more people for the morning because they'd only be here for like an hour. Like if you had 20 people for an hour, which I don't know if that violates some labor laws, but
Yeah.
that wouldn't really resolve the problem.
So we've allocated some staff that do different things to also address the phone crush in the morning. So I think we've likely maxed that out. Understanding that scheduling is important. So the reduction would be getting more people to portal. There's also something else that happens, the subscription to trip booking. So this is trips that are already booked and they're repeated weekly for customers. When you're maximizing like about 50% of your total trips around that sub number, you'll also reduce those people calling in every day. So we do a review regularly to make sure that we sit at that 50%. So that's also a good thing. But the other big piece is the increase in service hours has allowed us to add more subs to reduce calls as well, right? So you got a handful of balls at the same time.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how do we make the time on the phone less?
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a couple of things. Commissioner Rowe?
Thank you. Just off of your comments, perhaps in future reports, we can see that information as well. That would be really helpful to continue to track that number of whether or not there's reduction in time as we continue to build for this. I just had one additional question around the capital budget. Just looking at capital right now, and I know we receive this on a monthly basis. I think it'd be helpful for me to understand. We've got the actual and we've got the budgeted amount, but just if we think we're tracking, how we're tracking towards those numbers, because I'm looking at it going, are we gonna spend all this money or not with the way we're tracking right now? So I don't know if that's for future reports, if we could just get an idea of, how we think we're projecting out.
Yeah, through the chair, would you like through the commentary on each?
Yeah, I think that would just be helpful.
Zero emission bus pilot keeps going up. Okay, is that all again? All right, any final questions? Had good discussion on all items, thank you. Okay, seeing none online, then all those consent items have been moved and seconded, so I'll call the vote to receive. All in favor? And any opposed? Carries, thank you. There are no items for direction. The date of the next meeting is Wednesday, August 27th at 9 a.m. And then just one comment, I want to thank everyone for coming for July. I know we don't usually have one, but I really appreciate it just because there was some folks who wanted to have a bit of discussion. So appreciate that everyone had to move stuff around from here. Thank you to the staff. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, should we start it, since we're not going for the full amount now, should we start at 9:30 just to give people a little bit more cushion? to get here with the traffic and such.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer that, but does that impact your schedule for the morning? No,
I would just caution the August meeting may be heavy because you're going to have budget. So, but you might just want to make it go longer. I would just caution that you might run out of time.
we were 9:15. Okay, okay, sounds like 9:30 over here, it's people want 9:30, yeah? If that doesn't impact, everyone's okay at 9:30 generally, Councilor Plaza, Commissioner Plaza? You're okay at 9:30?
Sorry, I just don't know if it would affect our public notification, as people have already been made aware of the dates and times we're meeting at, and that's what they're anticipating.
Yeah, it sounds like we could change them on the website and it's over a month away, so I'm not sure if that. No, okay, staff are saying that wouldn't impact any statutory issues, so. Okay, let's do, I don't even know if we need a motion, but I'm okay with 9:30 and everyone's looking happy.
I would assume a motion's in order.
All right, then I'll take a motion. Move to 9:30, Commissioner Lehman, seconded by Commissioner Trostow. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of 9:30 starts? And any opposed? That carries. Okay, 9:30 is our new start. Thank you, Commissioner Trostow. All right, so then I just want to thank everyone. Oh, I already did that. Great. Thank you, everyone again. Great. Good motion. And then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Please, Commissioner Rahman, Commissioner Hopkins, all in favor? And that carries. All right, thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of July.
Yeah.